Demographic decline is a real and a dangerous trend. We need some solutions. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is Breakpoint. According to a new report from the Centers for Disease Control, the number of births in the U.S. has dropped to a 3-decade low in 2018. In just 1 year, the birth rate fell 7% among women 15 to 19, 4% among those between the ages of 20 and 24, 3% among 25 to 29-year-olds, and 1% among those between the ages of 30 and 34. The only groups with rising birth rates were those aged 35 to 39 and those between the ages of 40 and 44, whose rates grew by 1% and 2% respectively. At this moment, our total fertility rate lies at 1.73 births per woman. That's not only well below replacement level, it's lower than European countries such as France and the Scandinavian nations, and not much higher than China's. Even more worrying is that these low numbers are happening during a period of economic expansion and low unemployment. Typically, fertility rates drop with economic downturns and recover during economic booms. Not this time. Now, we talked a lot on Breakpoint about the economic and social consequences of declining fertility rates. Unfortunately, some are still committed to denying there's a problem. A recent Atlantic article called Concerns About the Declining Birth Rate Misplaced. According to the article, the declining birth rate is a function of women postponing childbirth, not ruling it out altogether. The author cites the increase in childbirth among women in their late 30s and early 40s as evidence. The problem is, as the data I cited show, that increase isn't very large, and it's certainly not enough to make up for the decline among women in their 20s and early 30s. Not to mention, of course, the ability to conceive and bear a child decreases with age. Despite our increasing technological workarounds to this limitation, most people are just not going to embrace parenting multiple teenagers in their 60s. The reality is, no matter how much we want to pretend we aren't facing a demographic winter, we are. The question before us is, what, if anything, can we do about it? And the honest answer is, we're not sure. Of course, the obvious answer is have more kids, but it's more complicated than just that. Decades of reduced birth rates have shrunk what's called the mating market. Bad ideas about marriage, sex, and parenting, not to mention new visions of what's the good life, are just deeply embedded in our culture, as are the new norms of cohabitation, delayed marriage, and extended adolescence. There's no silver bullet to correct all these things at once. Still, given the ruinous consequences of low birth rates, we should be open to any reasonable proposal that would reprioritize families in a culture that disincentivizes children. One idea worthy of consideration is paid family leave. For example, Senator Marco Rubio is proposing allowing new parents to use future Social Security benefits to pay for several months' leave after the birth or adoption of a child. Others have proposed requiring paid family leave or offering tax credits to employers who provide such leave. Now, I'm not endorsing or criticizing any of these approaches, and I certainly don't believe that governmental policies alone will be able to solve demographic decline, not even close. But policies that encourage folks to start families and then remove obstacles once they do have to be on the table. The United States, like Europe and East Asia, is on an unsustainable path. It's estimated that by 2035, the number of Americans over the age of 65 will outnumber those under the age of 18. That's a recipe for economic and social disaster. We have to do whatever we can to help our culture become more kid and family friendly. The only idea or proposal we shouldn't be considering is any that calls our concerns about the declining birth rate misplaced. After all, it was our misplaced priorities and values that got us here in the first place. For Breakpoint, I'm John Stonestreet.